I think it might be finally time. We've had FIFA 23 now for 9 months, so we can finally ask the question, was FIFA 23 a good FIFA game? We'll split this video up into 7 sections, covering everything from gameplay, to visuals, to online, and by the end of the video, we'll be making our verdict. So let's start with an overview of everything we were promised before release. As mainly a career mode based channel, let's start with that. So real face managers were this year's only real major improvement, with a change to the menu layout being the only other noticeable change. A few leagues were removed here and there, Japan and Mexico being the most notable, but we did also get the Serie B in Italy, which made playing in that nation a lot more fun. Women's football was also added to FIFA 23, but it was hidden away inside tournament mode instead of career mode. Women's football was also the focus of the new animation system that almost doubled the amount of total animations in the game. Beyond this, there were some smaller changes, with cross-play being added so you could play between PC, Xbox and PlayStation, and changes to penalties, free kicks and a new foot chemistry system, but it was hard to really notice any other changes. The initial reactions to the game's release were not good. The majority of day one reviews mentioned a lack of improvement since FIFA 22, with high scoring games, lack of realism and poor collisions all being mentioned multiple times in the reviews I've read. The more positive reviews made sure to add how fun the gameplay was compared to FIFA 22, how much the animations added to the gameplay, and the small changes did freshen up an otherwise quite stale series. But the new features did sound fun, but they weren't really enough big changes for a yearly release. But that's fine, because maybe they were focusing on the gameplay and that changed for the better instead. As a football game, I don't think there's actually too much EA could have done regarding changing gameplay. Football is football, you can't add a new playable class like a role-playing game might do, you can't balance a team like you would in a strategy game. But what we got was a pretty good representation of what football could be like if players all focused on attacking and didn't care about defending. The default gameplay saw hundreds of posts on both the Ultimate Team and Career Mode subreddits showing their 6-5 wins, and it seemed like this was going to be the highest goal scoring FIFA for a long while. Goalkeepers would regularly fail to save shots that were straight at them, and the new power shot mechanic was overpowered until people figured out you have to block them, otherwise they'll just go in. Other than the power shot mechanic, there was no real other overpowered moves like the croqueta was on FIFA 20, like El Tornado was on FIFA 19, or heading was on FIFA 14. You could mostly play how you wanted. Pace was still the best stat you could have, but we also now had stride length, which also modified how players felt. Personally, I did find the gameplay quite fun this year. It was much better than on FIFA 22. This is a common view from our Discord and from the FIFA Reddits, but 23 doesn't really compete with the fun levels that FIFA 17 had almost a decade ago. Let's move on to the graphics and visuals part of the game now. On screen right now, I put some gameplay of FIFA 22 and then some of FIFA 23 next to it. See if you can guess which is which. They do look a little bit different, but you can hardly say that this is a great leap forwards on the left FIFA 23 compared to on the right FIFA 22. As always, we got a few more stadiums from promoted teams, and thankfully we got a new tiny stadium for our career mode Road to Glories. If only a few more leagues had unique scoreboards and there was a few more fake stadiums created each year, I'd feel like this part of the visual aspect of playing career mode would be nearly complete. The kits are already well detailed, the player models improve as more players get body scans, and the turf deformation works really well when you're using the default camera. Player faces are still behind eFootball in my opinion, but with more players being scanned in more leagues, all it needs is an increased tessellation quality, which might not actually be possible in the Frostbite engine that EA is using. The engine can't really handle running over 60 frames per second on certain PCs, so maybe it is time for EA to upgrade to Frostbite 4. The only other visuals in the games are really the menus. Things got moved around in Career Mode and Ultimate Team, with both now needing more time to find the thing that you want. The menus are downgrades still from FIFA 17's era, where the team stadium would be in the background, even if the menus now are a bit more responsive because that feature was removed. So that's the visuals covered. What about the content and the new game modes? Well, as always, FIFA 23 focused a lot of its content on Ultimate Team. With a bunch of new promos, it seemed like every single week of the game had a different type of special card being released. You can't really say the same thing for Career Mode, with transfer updates being released much less frequently than in past FIFAs. Between November the 16th and January the 13th, which was a massive part of when people actually play FIFA and Career Mode, there were actually only 2 different weekly updates being released, which is terrible because usually you'd be getting 4 every single month. As we mentioned earlier, there was also a lot less content thanks to the removal of the Japanese and Mexican leagues, but the addition of Serie B in Italy did give us another league with promotions and relegations. I think if you asked the average person which one they would rather have, the majority of them would probably pick Serie B. But other than new leagues, the only other content update for career mode was really the real face managers, which was a long time request from the community. Maybe if we keep pressuring them, we'll finally see a stadium editor being added into EA Sports FC. There was no game mode additions into FIFA 23 though. Women's football was added to the existing tournaments mode, Volta already existed despite a few changes on this year's game, and the online seasons mode still plays exactly like it did on FIFA 12. With the only real new content coming to Ultimate Team, the rest of the game does feel a little bit neglected. While most people play it on Ultimate Team, they also have to experience the disgrace that is playing against the AI. With squad battles being by far the most frustrating part of that game mode, career mode players will also share their frustration. With the AI only wanting to score the same goals every single match, it makes every single game feel very similar. There's also very little difference between playing different teams, despite every team on the game having a hidden value for their different playing styles. The only tactic you can really notice is when you face a high pressure team, and that's only because the AI does not give you a single inch of space. Long ball, counter-attack and possession teams are all far less noticeable, with the AI always trying to run down the wings and pull the ball back to an open striker no matter what tactics you put them on. The lack of variety here does make the offline game modes much less fun. I've also noticed a huge amount of people prefer the off-the-field parts of the game to the on-the-field parts. This might be the transfer market or the squad building challenges in Ultimate Team, or the youth academy and signing players on career mode. The individual players are mostly fine when it comes to AI, but some work could really be used to make the teams play like their real team does in real life. So before we get on to our final verdict, let's quickly talk about online and the community. I'll preface this by saying I've played about 95% of my time on this year's game in career mode by making a conscious decision to avoid playing Ultimate Team, and that's because FIFA has one of the most toxic communities I have ever seen. Rocket League does the toxicity as well, but it does it in a more fun way where you can laugh at people spamming what to save. Ultimate Team is just the next level. The competitive aspect of the game mode turns people into full villains, whose only objective is to try and force the other player to quit and delete FIFA. I know this because I used to do exactly the same to other people. Griddies, dabs and calm downs galore. The community on FIFA is unparalleled. The esports mode do seem to get a bit more popularity, which is nice to see though. Hopefully this will lead to a bit more balance, more realistic gameplay and maybe more viable tactics, despite all of the esports games being played in Ultimate Team. Imagine if the 3 best players in the world were using different tactics, rather than all doing a direct counter-attack and then trying to score with David Ginola. So let's end this video. I posted polls every few months throughout this FIFA to try and judge the current state of the game. As you'd expect, when the game was new and shiny, lots of people really enjoyed it. As it aged, these people learned a little bit more about the game and the average review began to drop. I'd say from looking at these polls that FIFA 23 was enjoyed by the majority of people, at least before it was patched and made to be a bit more fast-paced and arcadey. While little did actually change between FIFA 22 and FIFA 23, the things that did change were noticeable and did improve the game, which is not something you can say for every EA release. Players of the F1 series or Madden series will know the feeling where a major gameplay change makes the game almost unplayable for the entire length of that year. There were some challenges for people who enjoyed the game though, things like the lengthy stride meta which made Ultimate Team annoying for a few months, but also it did let people use players that would never really have been used in Ultimate Team before, so it was nice to see some tall, slow players being just as effective as players like Mbappe and Neymar. Thankfully though, none of the changes on FIFA 23 actually did make the game unplayable. In fact, I would say that FIFA 23 is probably the most playable game of the decade so far, and I think that's why so many people, including yourself, have actually retained an interest in the game into June. So let's finally answer the question in the video title. Was FIFA 23 a good game? I would say that it was definitely above average for a FIFA game, but it is missing a few features here and there that would make it truly great. I feel like the community just needs a few small changes to Ultimate Team, Career Mode and Pro Clubs before we can finally rate this game as elite and one of the best football games of all time. So hopefully some of those changes come to EA Sports FC. Thank you for watching this sort of video essay, I guess, on FIFA 23, and if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing or leaving a comment with the FIFA game you'd like a similar video on. I'm happy to make one from any FIFA game from 1992 until 2022 if enough people want one. But thank you for watching, subscribe so you don't miss any more FIFA content. I'll see you soon, cheers and goodbye.